We talked a bit about how sometimes when there's a lot of water, that's passing, there's a lot of wind, and there's actually a surplus of energy, and that it goes, maybe down to California, which I would imagine is probably pretty profitable. So when it comes down to rates and people, going, man, my power bill's gone up again. Explain that a little bit. Put some context around why that happens if there's excessive energy.
Right. So it can be profitable to sell power on the market. Lately, it hasn't been that profitable because there's so much of it available. It's a supply and demand issue. If there's a lot of supply, the prices are not very high. However, traditionally, and there certainly is a lot of the year when California, other parts of the region need power, and we can sell some of the additional power that we have beyond the needs of the Northwest. And it's the public utilities in the Northwest, the PUDs, the municipal utilities, that have first preference for the power from the hydro system. Now, when we have power beyond their needs, then we can sell it out there, and the revenue from those sales, remember BPA's nonprofit, so the revenue actually goes to offset the rates that the Northwest customers are paying. So we actually have very affordable rates as a result of the foresight of the folks who built and developed the power system. Fortunately, we don't pay for fuel, right? Nature provides that. And we invested in the hydro system early on, so it was a pretty affordable investment at the time, and we're paying that back to the Treasury with interest over time. Now, we charge a wholesale power rate to the local utilities, the public utilities that I spoke of, and then they take that power and they distribute it over their local power lines and add their costs to the picture, and then that makes up what the rate that you see on your power bill.
So that's who I'm paying, or we're paying rather, right here to light this studio.
Exactly.
And to do this interview.
So a share of that is going to the BPA to cover our costs of operating and maintaining the power system. And then part of it is going to your local utility as well.
Okay. And the local utilities you mentioned get priority over,
right.
So
the public local utilities do. So
okay.
There are private utilities like Portland General Electric. They don't have that preference. However, they may well purchase power from us at certain times of the year to supplement their own generation.
Okay.
There's also a program called the Residential Exchange, which allows the customers of the private utilities to also benefit from the affordable power in the hydro system in the form of a rebate. So they actually see a rebate on their bill called Residential Exchange.
All right. Well, let's talk a bit about the future of power. I remember solar energy was going to be this, huge thing, and you could put all these panels on your roof and all this stuff, and then that worked sort of well in some areas.
It's taken off more slowly than other forms of renewable power, and it's in part because of practicality and because of expense. In some places they're still fairly expensive to set those up, although we're seeing more interest in connecting solar units to the BPA system. But what's really taken off, obviously, as you mentioned, is wind. And because wind is operating on its own schedule, the rest of the power system is sort of evolving to adapt to that. And it must become much more responsive to be able to balance the wind as the wind comes on and off. And so one of the recent things that we've done is we've introduced short-term power sales. Originally, utilities bought and sold power on hour units because power generation was relatively predictable. Now it's varying much more, and so we're switching to a half-hour schedule so people can. So for instance, if you're a wind producer and suddenly the wind picks up unexpectedly, you can go on the market and sell that extra power, whereas before you wouldn't have been able to do that.
So for the people or companies or organizations that own these wind farms, this potentially is very lucrative for them.
It could be, right. potentially on how depending on how they make use of it.
Right.
And they're right. They want to be able to generate as much power as they can and get it to somebody who can use it.
Okay.
And that's our goal as well.
Okay.
We obviously want to also keep a really strong hydro system. And so part of a lot of the rates that we charge go into maintaining the hydro system and making some upgrades at the dams, because as you know, they're getting up in the years and we want to make sure they're in good shape for the future.
Yeah, and as my producer had said, yeah, we certainly don't want those to fail on us.
Right. Not just not to fail, but also to run really efficiently, because the more efficiently they run, the more power we can get out of a given amount of water. And so the more economical the power that you're paying for is.
Yeah.
And at the same time, make it safe for fish that are moving through the dams.
Yeah. So with just a few seconds left, would the Northwest would it be fair to say the Northwest is kind of, maybe even the BPA, is leading the charge on renewable energy?
I think very much so. In fact, there's no place else in the country that has as big of a share of renewable power as we do. We have by far the lowest emissions associated with our electricity of any region in the country, and that's something to really be proud of.
Yeah.
There are not many places that can say that, and so we did it first with the hydro system, and then I kind of see wind in a way as the second generation of renewable power. Originally, the hydro system runs on kind of a seasonal basis as snow falls and melts. Now wind is running on a much shorter term basis, a much faster pace, and we're adapting to that and trying to figure out how to blend the two and to make it work with all the other sources of generation, and of course make sure that there's power to run your toaster and your light switch.
Right, because none of us like to be without power.
Right.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. Obviously, this is a subject that we could talk many more hours on, and maybe we can do that at some point, really go in depth, but appreciate sort of the overview.
Right.
So thank you for your time.
You bet. And I hope maybe you can share some of our website information that people can go to and actually see what power is doing at any given time over the course of the day.
Absolutely, yeah, we'll make sure and put that up.
Great.
And people can check that out. So you guys, thanks so much for watching. Look forward to seeing you next time, and take care of each other.
Do you have a guest idea? Let us know. Go to localite.com.